which we have. Then you'll be able to see that we have 3 columns. So our first column contains date. Second column has got particulars or details. Then the third column is where we have the amount. So these things have been arranged in that manner, and we are expected to come up with automated financial statements. We are expected to come up with the automated financial statements such that if we are now going to prepare our balance sheet, then it should balance. Then, if maybe one of these figures here, we realize that one of them has got an issue, maybe want to change it, then just changing the figure here will automatically be reflected in the financial statements. If it is a balance sheet item, it will be reflected there. If it is an income statement item, it will also be reflected there. So there's a lot to be done about date. Just date function has got more than 20 concepts. Date function has got more than 20 concepts, but today I want us to see maybe 2 to 3 of them. So this information will help us to form financial statements of 4 months. And it is in order from January up to April. It is from January up to April. That is from my side. I know that it is from January up to April. But what if you are just given this information and you'd like to know the number of months that are there, or even the specific months? Because it can be 4 months, yet it is starting from September, maybe starting from February, not necessarily starting from January. So how can we identify that in this information? So what we are going to do is what we call, we are going to extract months from these dates and then be able to get the number of months or the specific months that are here. So first of all, there is a long method maybe that you can use. Somebody may prefer inserting the filter to the titles. So just say, we just have to place our cursor there, Control, Shift, right navigation key. Then we say Alt, Control, Shift. In short, we are highlighting the title. Having highlighted the title, you click Alt, move to Data, and then T. So by doing that, we've been able to insert filters into our titles. Just highlight the titles, move to Data. Then having moved to Data, you will be able to see this funnel-shaped item, which is called filter. So when you click that, you will be able to see now drop-downs have been added to the titles of your data. So if you do that, when we now check here, you'll be able to see that we have January, February, March, and April. So we've been able to identify that the year is 2021, and the 4 months that are being referred to are January, February, March, and April. Any question concerning that? Any question concerning that first step? That is first method of identifying the number of months that are there. Okay. So that is the first method to identify the specific months that are there. 2, let me do away with the filters. Let me do away with the filters. So having removed the filters, another method, I am expected to insert. Repeat, please. Okay. So our first method was to insert the filters. Our first method was to insert the filters, and filters have been inserted using this shortcut. That is Alt plus A plus T. Just highlight the titles here, then follow this Alt A T, and you'll be able to see the filters. And you will be able to see the filters. So having inserted the filters, just come here and you'll be able to see all the months reflected there. And you're also even shown the year. So in this data here, we only have 1 year, which is 2021. If I decide to change this one here to 2022, then this is what will happen. It is now not showing me the months, but instead I'm only being shown the years. So that is the challenge of using this method that I've shown you, this method 1. If we bring in different years, then we are only being shown the years, but not the months. And therefore, it will not work for you if you want the months. So let's take this one back to 2021. Let's take that one back to 2021. So that is method 1. That is method 1. Let's move to method 2 and see what we are going to do. So let's do away with the filters. If you do this, if you follow this procedure again, you will be able to eliminate the filters. Alt A T, you will be able to eliminate the filters. So our next method to identify the months, simply insert an empty column between A and B. Insert a column between A and B. So some of you have been doing this, highlighting column B, then coming to this place to insert. Well and good. That's also a way of doing that. Another method is just highlight that column B, then say Control Shift, hold them together, then click the plus button, and you'll be able to insert as many columns as you can. What if you only want one column and you've inserted more than one? Just hold Control and click the minus button to do away with the excess columns. Okay, so having inserted that, let's have 2 of them. Let's have 2 of them. Let's have 2 columns. Let's have 2 columns there. And one, we want to get the months, both in words and in column. We want to get the months, both in words and in figures. We want to get the months both in words and in figures. So in figures, the function for getting month is called month. In words, the function for getting month in words, we are going to use the text function. So these 2 functions here will help us to get the month both in words and in figures. So let's see how we can get it in words, I mean in figures. You activate your cell, then you say month. Once it appears in blue, then click your tab button to enter the formula. So what is the first item that you are expected to insert there is the serial number, which is now that specific date. So come and pick the date, then you close your brackets. Having picked the date and then you close your brackets, when you enter, you'll be able to get it in figures, but it is not giving you what you expect. Instead of this, to give you 1st of January or 1, it is giving us this. Why is it giving us that? If you come here to this section, you will see the format here is date. So just come there, go there, and change it to number. Change it to number and reduce decimal places to 0. And you'll be able to get 1. Having gotten that, we now autofill. So just place your cursor at the bottom right corner, and then you double click to be able to autofill. Before I repeat, is there someone who has gotten the months in figures? Is there someone who has gotten the months in figures? Is there someone who has gotten the months in figures? Okay, so let me repeat that. That number is good, but let me repeat. You want to get the months in figures using the month function. You want to get the months in figures using the month function. So let me do away with all this. Place my cursor there. So activate the cell. Then you say month. The moment you start typing that month, and you will be able to see the formulas appearing there listed. So the month function which we need is already highlighted in blue. So our work is simply to click the tab button to enter that formula. Serial number is the entire date that has got month, date, and year. So we come here and pick that entire date, and then you close your brackets. If you enter, you'll be able to see the month in figures. So if you want to now fill it all through, just come at the bottom right corner here, place your cursor there, then you double click it, and you will be able to get your months in figures. How about in words? In words, we are going to use the text function to help us get the months in words. So simply activate your cell, then you say text. Activate your cell, then you say text. Click the tab button. So which value? What are we going to insert as the value? This value now is the entire date. This value is the entire date. So having picked the value, comma, the next item that you're supposed to insert there is format. The next item that you're supposed to insert there is format. So remember, when you are doing your advanced Excel, if you want to insert foreign characters into your function or formula, That is any other thing that is not a number. You must give it a special treatment. From your advanced Excel, we discussed and said that for you to insert any other character apart from a figure or a number, then you must give it a special treatment. This special treatment simply means using quotation marks. So we bring in our opening quotes and you type letter M 4 times. You type letter M 4 times. You type letter M 4 times. As you can see it displayed on my screen, this is what you do. So your value is the date, then format is now M typed there 4 times, but placed in quotation mark. So having done that, close your bracket and enter. Close your bracket and enter. You will now be able to see the months appearing in words. So 1 year represents January. We expect 2 to represent February. So let's autofill and see. Bottom right corner, then you double click and you will be able to see the months indicated in words. What if this January, which is here, just come to your date, just come to your date here, and then you replace it to give us August. Let's see. It automatically changes to August. So that's how we write our dates in or months in figures and in words by using those two different functions. I can't see the quotation marks. If they are not there, then you have this sign in your laptop or computer. You have this sign, just hold shift, then you click where we have this sign. Where we have the @ sign, you'll be able to get it there. Where we have this. And also on top of 2, we have the quotations that we are referring to. Mine is giving me an error. If it is giving you an error, then maybe you have not inserted the quotation marks correctly. You've not inserted the quotation marks. It must be 4 M's. Yes, for this one, it must be 4, but 3 is also okay. 3 will not give you exactly what I have here, but 3 will abbreviate the month. 3 will abbreviate the month. This is what you have when we replace 1 M. If you remove 1 M and you remain with the 3 of them, you will get the months abbreviated. So you have now August, not in full, February, not in full. That is what you will get. Where that sign is, where the @ is, just hold shift and click that. You'll be able to get your quotation marks. For the months to be autofilled in full, you must use the 4 M's. If you replace or even remove 1, this is what you get. If you remove another one, you remain with the 2, you'll now get the months in figures again, but still using text function. So just use the 4 of them. For this illustration, please use the 4 of them. I'm getting different results. I'm getting different results. Okay, are you in a position to share your screen? Are you in a position to share your screen? Let's do away with the month, the column where we have the months in figures. So how do we delete that column? Control minus. Control minus. So having done that, we've now added additional column to help us get the months. Still, it is your first time to interact with this information here, so you do not know the number of months or the specific months that are there. How can we identify that? We want now do what we call, we want to remove duplicates and see the specific months that are there. So come to this column B, copy it, paste it somewhere here. And also, as you paste it, remember, this column here, this column has got formulas. So the moment we paste it here, this is what you are going to get. If you just paste it normally, you are going to get January all through. You are going to get January all through. So what should we do? As you paste it here, you don't need to paste it the normal way, but you need to paste values. So go to paste, special, then we paste values. The moment you just place your cursor under paste values, you'll be able to see it doing away with the January that was there and now giving us the exact months that are here, though without the formula. If you check here, we have the formula. Here, we don't have the formula. So having done this, we've now extracted the months in column B to column K. So highlight the whole of that column, then move to data, and then remove duplicates. So in that section, you say your data as header, and then you say OK. So if you do this, you'll be able to see the specific months that are there in this data. So we have January, February, April, then March, in that order. Have we been able to get the specific months using that function? Have we been able to get the specific months using that function? So our first step was to copy, paste special, then you are to paste the values. Copy, paste, then you paste special and pick paste values. So we've now, having done that, we highlight all of this column, move to data, and then pick remove duplicates. In that section, you say that your data has got headers, and then you say OK to be able to remove the duplicates. That is what you do. Okay, so we've learned one shortcut, this one here, to insert the filter in the titles. Another shortcut that we are now learning again is we want to use this shortcut to remove duplicates. We want to use this shortcut to remove duplicates. We want to use this shortcut to remove duplicates. We want to use this shortcut to remove duplicates. So it is Alt another shortcut that is coming in, Alt plus A plus M. So this is shortcut number 2 that will help us to remove duplicates. Just copy your data normally, paste special, paste special, having done that, just say Alt A M. So you want to continue with the current selection and then you say OK. So having done that, when you enter, we'll be able to get the same values that we got using the other method. So this shortcut here is taking us to removing duplicates. Another shortcut of copying, having highlighted this, you want to copy, just say Alt H V, Alt H V. You highlight that, then you say Alt Control. Control V to copy. You want to now paste it somewhere here. What do we do? Alt H V V. So that one we have copied. Special. Alt plus H plus V plus V. So that one is being used to copy or to paste special and paste values. So this one here, we are pasting values without the formula. This one here is to remove duplicates. And this one here is to insert filter. So these shortcuts here, we'll be applying them as we move forward. So far we've learned these 3 to help us remove the duplicates and identify the specific months. Leo naona giza tu. What is not making sense? What is it that is not making sense to you here? If these ones here, you cannot master them within one lesson, but you've seen, if you want to insert filter, we just move to data. In short, we are reducing this time. We are assuming that you don't have mouse. We are assuming that you don't have mouse. So when I move to data, I want to insert filter. My first step is to highlight the title. That is applicable both sides. I move to data. I'm seeing remove duplicates and also insert filter. So going through this process to move to data, again, look for it. I simply hold Alt AT and it automatically gives me that. If I want to remove duplicates, Alt AM, it will just reduce this process of moving to data. Let's say I was here, home. I want to move to data, look for remove duplicates. The same menu will be appearing for me, even if I use this shortcut or the other way. This one here is the normal one that you know of copying and pasting special. Just come here, you copy, Control C, kama kawaida. Then you come to paste here. This section here, you want to look for, you want to paste values. So instead of going through that process, you apply this shortcut to help you do that. As simple as that. So you cannot apply all of them at once until you understand. It's a matter of doing it gradually. But at least make sure that every lesson you understand at least one. So out of these three, you should have two or even one. So are we now ready to proceed? 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 That shortcut is very long. Of course, if it is your first time, but when you know it, is it a must to include the plus sign? No, I'm doing that to show you the procedure. You have to hold Alt, then still holding Alt, you just click A, then T, and it will give you that. It is not a must. I'm just doing it there to show you what you're supposed to do, the letters that you're supposed to pick. But Alt, you must hold it as you pick the other letters. Is that understood? So just have a screenshot of these shortcuts here. Actually, we are going to apply them here when you're going to do this function. We are going to apply them here. So let me repeat as we proceed. Let me repeat them as we proceed. So having done that, for us to prepare our financial statements, we must do what we call mapping. We must group those items that have the same name or should be having a common name to reduce that work of now doing them one by one. So the process of now grouping together to have a common name is what we call mapping. The process of grouping these items that should be having a common name is what we now call mapping. And therefore, for us to do mapping, we need an additional column. In column E, we are going to have our title of mapping. So we want to group those items that should be together to give them a common name. Irrespective of the month, they should have a common name. Then going forward, we are now going to apply some ifs to now look for the items that are similar to get the total or summation of the values that corresponds to them. So having added this additional column, we now want to filter. We want to filter the titles. So what did I say? If you want to filter the titles, just highlight these titles here, then use the shortcut, which we have said is Alt A T. You hold Alt, dial A, then T, and you'll be able to get the filters. If you've not understood that concept, then do it this way. Highlight these ones, move to data, then look for this filter, and you'll be able to get the same thing. So have we done this? Remember, this is a recap of what was done yesterday, the income statement. So have we inserted the filters? Have we inserted the filters? Have we inserted the filters? Okay. So having the filters in place now, We want to move to the next step of now grouping these items. That is what we call mapping. And which items are we going to group? We are going to group the items in column C, that is particulars. We want to now bring those that should be together to have a common name. In some cases, you will find amortization and depreciation, both are having different values, but you want to combine them together. In some cases, you will find interest on bank loan and maybe interest on debentures, and maybe you want to make all of them to be financed cost. So you bring them to have a common name. So how do we do our mapping? We come to column C, this drop-down list here. Click it and look for the first item. So which item do we normally have first in our income statement? Which item should appear first in our income statement after the title? Which item should appear first in our income statement after the title? We have revenue. We have revenue. So if you check this information here, the main source of income to this business here is rental income. Therefore, this rental income is going to be the revenue, for this business. So in all places that we have rental income, you want to change it to have a common name, either sales or revenue. And so come to your drop-down list here, and in the text filters, in the section of search, just type rental, and you will see others eliminated. You have your rental income. Once it remains there to be highlighted, just click OK. And you will see all others have been eliminated, but you now have all rental incomes for the entire period. So which name do we want these items to have? That is what now we bring in the mapping column. These items, all of them, we want them to have a common name. Bringing that common name is what we call mapping. So let's now call them revenue. Let's now call them revenue. So having done that, just put the first one, then you say Control E. Just have the first one, and below it, say Control E to flash fill the names. So have we done that? Move to your particular section, type revenue, rental income, type rental income. It remains there alone, ticked, and then you say, okay. Having done that, for those who have not done, this section here has got no name, but the first one you'll be given it a name of revenue, and you want to make it to be all these other cells. So what do? Place your cursor there, then you say Control E. You'll be able to get the first one. The next item that we are supposed to have here, follow the same procedure and look for another item which we have as per your list. Remember, you have to do that to all the items which we have here. So the next item which is provided here, as I can see, we have cash, we have corporate tax, depreciation, we have interest expense, we have operating expenses. So let's now look for operating expenses. Let's look for operating expenses. You'll see it is the only item that has been ticked. So what do? You say okay, and you will see them filtered out. So what is going to be the name of these operating expenses? What do we give to these operating expenses? Do we want to maintain the name? Or are we going to give them a different name? So let's use a different name. Let's say these ones are now the operating expenses. Okay, so let's maintain the name as others have suggested. Let's maintain the name. Operating expenses. The moment you enter, you will find it now automatically filling the remaining cells, because the first one, what did you do? We flash filled the formula. So it will keep on doing all this for you. Once you enter the first one, these other ones will be automatically filled for you. Is that okay? Or is there someone who is trying to flash fill, but it is not, he or she is not getting the values? So let's proceed, do the same to the other item, same procedure. Let's now look for interest expense. Let's look for interest expense. It is already highlighted, say okay. And let's now give it a name of finance cost. Finance cost. When you enter, automatically the names are filled. How do you flash fill? For you to flash fill, type this first one here, the first name that you want to use. Type the first name there in the mapping column. Having done that, place your cursor there. Then you say Control E. Control E. Control E will give you that flash fill. So when you do that, you'll be able to see them auto-filled, and it will do the same for you to the subsequent figures the moment you enter the first one. In a letter mapping, yes, it gives you mapping because you've not typed the first one. Have you typed the first one and now trying to do that to the second one? Have you tried doing that to the second one? You type this, you want the names to be finance cost. So we type finance cost, then below it is now where we say Control E. Margaret, are you now able to get it? Flash filled. Are you now able to get it flash filled? That's good. So let's now proceed. So we've now done that. We are through with interest expense. Let's look for another thing. I'm able to see depreciation. The moment I type depreciation, even before I complete the entire word, I'm able to see two of them highlighted. So I have one that is depreciation, and the other one is depreciation expense. I have depreciation and depreciation expense. And since these two mean the same thing, I will just leave them the way they are ticked and say, okay. So I want all of them, both the depreciation expense and the depreciation, to have a common name. So which name do I want to use? Let's use depreciation. Let's use depreciation. The moment I enter, it automatically fills that to the rest. That one is done. So after depreciation, what else do we have here? I'm able to see corporate tax. And then I will call it tax expense. Once you do that, the other ones are just automatically filled. So if I check my list, I can now pick the other ones that are remaining, but only to make sure that all of them have been picked. So let's pick cash, as I'm able to see it in the list. Cash. I want to maintain the name. Cash. When you enter, that's what it gives you. I've also been able to see debentures. Debentures, that is it. You want to maintain the name. Yes, that's what we do. So just do it that way until we finish the rest. Is there someone who is left behind? Is there someone who has been left behind? Maybe our speed is too high for you. Okay, someone is left behind, so we can give you 1 minute to catch up with us. How do you get the months? Wow. So the months you are getting using this function. Do you also pick flats? Yes, we are supposed to pick everything. We are supposed to pick everything there. So flats, for the flats, we are going to call it land and buildings. For the flats, we are going to call it land and buildings. For us to get the months in words, we use the text function, that is equal text. What is the value? It is now the date in column A, comma, format text. We want to get the months in words. So we bring the quotation mark, then you say M 4 times, quotation mark, then you close your bracket. That is what gave us the months. That is what gave us the months in. This function is what gave us the months in words. This is the function which we use to get the months in words. So are you now able to get the months, Moline? Are you now able to get the months in words? Are you now able to get the months in words? I am just joining. Hopefully can pick up something. Yes. So having done that, let's now proceed. Having picked the debentures, I've been able to see flats. Flats, we want to give it a name, that is land and buildings. Land and buildings. So land and buildings, Control E. Having done that, I'm also able to see long-term loan. So long-term loan, let's give it a name, bank loan, or just return, say loan. So let's have bank loan. Let's have bank loan. Again, if I check there, we have ordinary share capital, we have rent receivable, we have trade payables. So let's now move to rent receivable. So rent receivable is the debtors. Yes, the videos will be shared. The issue that was there with our system has been resolved, and we have started making the videos ready. So maybe by tomorrow, in the course of the day, you will get the portion that shall have been completed, shared with you. So don't worry about that, it will be taken care of. So we want rent receivable is the normal debtors. Yes, we can call it trade receivables or debtors. It means the same thing. So let's have debtors there. Let's have debtors there. The next item that I've also seen there is the next item there is trade payables. I've also been able to see trade payables. So trade payables, we can call them creditors or maintain the name. So let's have creditors there. Let's have creditors there. There is also another item that we have not picked, that is ordinary share capital. Ordinary share capital. Ordinary share capital. So ordinary share capital, we can maintain the name. Ordinary share capital, that's what we have. Okay, somebody is saying that trade standard change them to trade payables and trade receivables. Yes, they mean the same thing. Yeah, we are going to do that. So if you decide, so long as you know what it means, we can look for them. We can look for them here. Let's say trade payables. We can change it to have the same name. Changing is very simple. Just do that and you'll see all of them change. So long as for this, we now know that trade payables can also be creditors. Trade receivables is also debtors. That's what we are interested in. Okay, so how do we confirm that we've mapped all the items? How do we confirm that we've mapped all the items? This is what you are supposed to do. Place your cursor here, and this time round, don't look for a single item, but select all. This time round, when you feel that you are through with all of them, select all, then you say okay. Select all, then you say okay. So if you check here, remember we are trying to give the items in column C a common name. So if there is any item that does not have a name in column E, then it means we have not mapped it or given it a name. Let's see. In our data, all the items in column E have got names. So it is the names of the items in column C that have been changed to have a common name in column E. So if I have an item in column E or an empty cell in column E, but there is a name in column C, then it means I've not mapped all the items. Let me remove one of my items, then you see what I'm referring to. Let me remove one so I can do away with this. Let me now come back to select all and you see what I'm trying to say. So if you check here, this one item here does not have a name in column E. So it means when I was doing my mapping, I omitted this. That's mistake number one. For those who will not be able to get the correct answers, as we'll be doing now our sum ifs. Another person did this. We were looking at, let me bring that back, flat. Let me bring that back. So another person might have done this. We have rent. Just started looking for these words. And the moment you type rent, we have rental income and rent receivable. So having just seen the word rent, this person went ahead and said, okay, and gave all these items a common name. Went ahead and gave all these items a common name, such that if you now come here to select all, you will find that even your rent receivable, which should be an asset, is now given a name of revenue, but it should be rent receivable or trade receivable or debtors. So if you do that mistake when you are now filtering here, the moment you type the word rent, you will see two of them appearing, which are referring to different things. So what you should know, make sure that you do your filter until you have the specific items. So if I add R here, I will remain with rent receivable. And these ones here should have that trade. Let's call them debtors. I believe that is what we picked. That is what you should make sure that you've done. What if there are many rows? If there are many rows, that's what you do. You only identify those items. Remember, this one here is just a simple one that we are doing for illustration, but maybe you will be given this information here for the last 5 years of a company, and you are expected to do it on monthly basis, which means it's around 60 months. With this, you will be able to do that without struggling. The moment you do your mapping, you are good to go. So have we all done all those procedures and we are all at this point? We've now mapped everything. We've taken them back and we now have all the information in column C given a name in column E. Are we all there? Are we all now at this point where we want to now move to the next step? Are we now through with the mapping? Are we now through with the mapping? Are we now through with the mapping? Okay, so we now want to prepare our financial statements, but in a different worksheet. We don't want to do it in the same worksheet. We want to do it in a different worksheet. That different worksheet is the adjacent worksheet that you have there. Double click that worksheet to edit the name. Let's call it FS. Double click it to get the name. Let's call it FS. Let's call it FS. So having done that, we now want to transfer these items here. We now want to transfer these items in the 4 months FS to now FS, where we have our income statement and the balance sheet. So what are we supposed to do? Our first step is to pick the items in column E, paste them in FS worksheet and remove duplicates. We are now through with the items in column C. We don't need them again. We now want to use these names to appear in our financial statements. So it is these names that we are going to transfer to the FS worksheet. So highlight the all of this. Remember, these ones does not have formulas. So you don't need to paste special. Just copy, Control C, move to FS, move to FS. You can paste it there. And then you paste. Having pasted it that way, if you are keen enough, you will see that we have revenue repeated there, trade payables more than 3 times, ordinary share capital repeated more than 3 or even 2 times. So we want to do away with the items that have same name and remain with the unique names. That is what we call removal of duplicates. We want to remove the duplicates. So what do? Our shortcut. Is there someone who can recall our shortcut for the removal of duplicates? Alt A M. Alt A M. Or having highlighted your items in column A, the way I've done mine, move to data, then remove duplicates. You will see this menu appearing and you say your data has got headers, which means you have the title for that data. Our title is mapping. So after excluding the title, we want to now remove the duplicates. So say okay. And you'll be able to see that those repetitions have been eliminated. And if it is revenue, it is only 1. If it is depreciation, only 1 item. Finance cost, only 1 item. Have we been able to do that? Have we been able to do that? Have we been able to do that? Okay, so having done this, we now want to get the months. We want to get revenue for the first month, second month, third month, fourth month. How do we identify the unique months that we have? Follow the same procedure of removal of duplicates. But since this one here has got formula, we agreed that you are copying but pasting special. You copy and paste special. So come here, Control C, move to this other worksheet. Just place it somewhere there. Somewhere there, go to Home, paste special, We want to paste values. Having done that, the same procedure for the removal of duplicates. That is Alt-A-M to remove the duplicates. Yes, my data has got headers. And then you say, okay. So if you do that, you'll be able to see that we only have 4 months. And of these 4 months, we have January is the first month. So we have January. And then we do it up to April. So this one was helping us to identify the unique months which we have there. We don't need this title for the mapping. We can change it to be details. We can change it to be details. We can change it to be details. Yes, which parts do you want me to pardon, Molin? For the months, you come here, highlight the whole of that column, copy from, we have this, copy it, move to the FS here, we want paste, but because it has got formulas, we paste special. So below this, we have that, and then we have paste values. Click this. You'll be able to get your months without formula. You want to eliminate the duplicated months and only know the unique months that are there. Go to data, remove duplicates. My data has got headers, yes. And then you say, okay. If you do that, you'll be able to see that we only have 4 months. So we have January, February, April, then March also is there. So that's what I have indicated here. That's what I have indicated there. Okay. Personally, I took you through the SUMIFs function and also, yes, SUMIFs function. So we want to now see, we have this problem now to solve. We have financial statement for items, financial items here. So we've been told to prepare the financial statement for the 4 months. Now that we have the items for the financial statements, and we have the months indicated here, so we are expected to get the value. If it is revenue, it should only be for January. What is the total revenue for January? February, March, April. Are we going to come here and look for, scroll it down, look for revenue, okay. Look for month, we can see it is January, so we have 62. So you come here and indicate 62. Yes, you can do that. What if we have 100,000 transactions in a day that brings in revenue? For example, if this one was information for a supermarket, and in a day they can even do 50,000 sales to different persons selling different items. So are you going to do that for every, remember that one is for a day, but you are going to do this one on a monthly basis. For how long will you do that? So Excel is now reducing that work and giving us a function to help us bring in conditions to get the summations of just a specific item. You want to get amount. 1, it must be revenue. 2, it must be for January. It means we have 2 conditions. We want to get the summation. So which function are we going to apply to help us get the summation? which function are we going to apply to help us get the summations? Yes, Robert is telling us some ifs. Some ifs, yes. Some ifs, that's good, Purity. Okay, so it means some if will help us to get the summation, but by also introducing or satisfying the conditions or meeting the limiting factors. So let's now use some ifs to help us get the total revenue for January, February, and March. So activate your cell, say some ifs. The moment you do that, you will see it appearing as number 3. Don't continue typing the name, just use the down arrow, the page down arrow to move to some ifs. Once it is highlighted in blue, then you click your tab button to get it inserted. Our first item that is needed in the function is sum range. Sum range is what do we want to be returned in this function? We want to get the summation. So in which column are we going to get the summation? In which column are we going to get the summation? Column D has got the amounts that will give us the summation which we need. So let's now pick that entire column. Remember, our function is saying sum range. The moment you see the word range and array, then automatically you know that should be fully dollar referenced or locked. So let's now pick our sum range. So place your cursor there. Some people will place their cursor. We want to highlight this column up to the last item. So we have this method of doing this way, but what if we have many rows, let's say 10,000? It will not be easy maybe to do that. So what you need to do, the shortcut of doing that, let's come back to the first cell. So having placed your cursor there in B2, hold Control and Shift together. Hold Control and Shift together. So click the page down arrow and you will be able to highlight the entire column where we have that information. So what do? We fully dollar reference. We fully dollar reference. So we are going to have F4. And we've now fully dollar referenced our sum range. Then you say comma. The moment you insert comma, you will see your function continues, and now criteria range 1 is now appearing in bold, and that is the next item that we are supposed to insert. So let's see criteria range 1. So here it means those are the conditions that you want to meet. 1, it must be either revenue and also January. So let's insert these conditions. So you can start with the months or with the details, whichever. So long as you have the correct formula, you'll get the answer. So let's now start with this column for the details. Criteria range 1. Where do we find these items in our database or original data? Where do we find these items in this database? Where do we find those items? In which column? In which column do we find those items. Mapping E, yes, E, E, yes. So this is where, if you don't get, then somebody will confuse and get zeros when inserting the formula. Remember, this column C was used to help us get a common name in column E. And when we were doing our transfer or removal of duplicates, we remove duplicates for the items that were from column E, and therefore this one here is automatically the mapping column. So that's why we remove the mapping here intentionally. If I could have left mapping here, somebody was not going to be able to know the reason why, or why are we just picking the mapping column. It is because it is the one that we have used. We have reduced these numerous names to have a common name in column E. So these ones are the items that will appear in our financial statement. And therefore, that criteria range 1 is the items in column E. So place your cursor there, Control Shift, page down arrow, then F4 to fully dollar reference criteria range 1, comma. The next item that is needed is criteria 1. So let's come to our FS. We've picked the range where we have these items. So which specific item do we need? Which specific item do we need? We need the items in column A. So we now come to revenue and put it there. But remember, we want to automate this such that when we are going to drag our formula downwards, it should give us the total for revenue. If we are going to drag it horizontally, it should keep on referring to revenue or the items in column A. So let's see which item is going to be common. When we autofill our formula downwards, we are going to move from A2 to A3 to A4 to A5 up to A13. So what are they sharing? Remember, A represent column, then the numbers represent rows. So between row and column, when we are going to autofill this formula vertically or downwards, which item is appearing to be common to all of them? Is it the row numbers or the column numbers? Is it the row or the column? Is it the row or the column? It seems somebody has not understood. Okay, we want to now, assuming that we want to stop at this point, and we are going to autofill our formula vertically up to this last point. Here we have A2. The next row, we are going to have A3, A4, A5, up to A13. Which item are they sharing in common? They are sharing column A. And if they are sharing column A, then that column becomes our reference column, and it should be partially dollar referenced. What do we mean by partial dollar referencing? We are going to log that reference point. So we are going to log column A. Remember, in my function here, A2, A represent column, 2 represent row. So if I say I'm locking column A, then I place my dollar sign before letter A. So shift, then 4 to get the dollar sign inserted there, comma, criteria range 2. criteria range 2 is now the second condition. We've taken care of the items that we got from the mapping column. Now we want to deal with the months. And now, where are we going to get the months in our original or database? Where are we going to get January, February, March, and April in our original database? Where are we going to get them from? From our month column. Why do we have balance sheet items under the financial statements? Yes, that's the procedure. You want to do mapping for everything. Having done that, we will now automatically just select the balance sheet items and get our income statement items also. So that's the procedure of doing that. So where are we getting our criteria range to? Where do we get January, February? In column B. So place your cursor there. Control, Shift, page down, arrow. That is a range. And we were told that the moment we see the word range, must be fully $referenced, comma, within this range that we've picked, which item are we specifically looking for? Now that we are inserting our function in cell B2, which item are we now looking for within that range? Is the months. So the first month that we are going to use in our function is this one here, January, which is B1. Let's see again. So you ask yourself, as we are going to autofill this formula horizontally to get the values for February, March, and April, I'll be changing from B1 to C1 to D1 to E1 for April. Among those things that I have mentioned, what are they sharing in common? B1, C1, D1, E1. They are sharing one in common, and that one represents the row. Since now the row is our reference point, we have to partially lock that reference point. So what do? We are going to place our $sign before 1 to mean that we have locked the reference row. Having done that, then our function is complete. Having done that, our function is complete, and therefore close your bracket and enter. If you close your bracket, then you enter, you get the first value. Just do it to E, still highlighted that way. Double click at the bottom right corner here. Place your cursor at the bottom right corner, then you double click, and you'll be able to generate all the values. And you'll be able to generate all the values. So let me see those who are getting the correct one. Let me also see those who are getting the first one. They are getting the correct value, 62. But others, if you now go to February, you are getting 0. If you move down to depreciation, you are also getting a 0 value. Wow, so it means almost everybody has gotten that. I believe so. So this one here, without even struggling to look for which date, which month, so long as you set your data, we wanted months, we wanted these items. Got 0 in April, yes. What about March? If you got 0 in April, do you have any of the other months that has got more than 62,000? The others are okay. It means your April, check the spelling, retype that April. Remember, it is sensitive to spelling because the moment you bring something here that is not within the range, let's say this April here, I have decided to abbreviate it. You see what is happening to my column? It automatically gives me 0 values. Why? It is sensitive to spelling. This abbreviation of April was not provided in my data range. If I change this one here, let's just try and abbreviate. Let's just try and abbreviate that, just 1 April there. You will be able to see that now here, I'm having one value for operating expenses. Why? Because this April, which is abbreviated, is the same as what I have abbreviated here. So can you just check the spelling or retype that? Just retype this April and you'll be able to get the answers. Joseph, I believe you've rectified that. I believe you've rectified that. Okay, so let's now move forward. Having done this, our work is now complete. Having done this, we can just now start eliminating the other things that are not for. So let's have, we'll see what we need there. But let's have these first ones here. So after revenue, what do we normally need? After revenue, we now have operating expenses. So have your operating expenses there. Operating expenses. So the moment you type operating expenses, don't disturb yourself. Just highlight this, then you double click, and you'll be able to get the same values that operating expenses have here. So after revenue and operating expenses, we need to get our EBIT. Depreciation and amortization. That is what we need to get. In that formula, in this, we have now depreciation and amortization. So we want to eliminate that. How do we eliminate? It is that minus depreciation. Then below it, what do we need? Below it, we are going to have EBIT, earning before interest and taxes. That is what we have. After EBIT, we now eliminate interest. We now eliminate interest, and our interest is the finance cost. Just type that finance cost and you'll be able, just type that finance cost there and you'll be able to get the same values. So long as the spelling is correct, you will get the same values. So after finance cost, what do we have? We now have earnings before taxes. We now have earnings before taxes. So which name did we use for the taxes? We just said tax expense. So just type tax expense. Just type tax expense and it changes to the values which we have down here. So having removed tax expenses, what do we now have? Earnings after taxes. After getting that, we need retained earnings. Retained earnings brought down. Retained earnings brought down. We also get retained earnings carried down. So I would like you to do that. Do that before we now see how we are going to get those items, the new items that we have in our function. So insert this, have this format here, then you let me know. Have this, and then you let me know.